record button just went live. And Vivian, you can absolutely get us started. I'm going to remind all of our students, if you are not speaking, please keep your microphone on mute. If you have things that you want to ask, you can feel free to type them in the chat, or wait until the break, and then we can make sure that we address you so that you can ask your questions towards the end. All right, so thank you. Go ahead, Vivian.
Hello everyone. Thank you. First of all, thank you for coming to this event. I know it's like after school and you've just been serious all day, but thank you for coming to this event. So this event will be discussing election issues with Miss Shauna Dozier. So first we'll begin by asking her a couple questions that have already been prepared. It's 8 questions, and then after those 8 questions, there will be a Q&A where you guys can ask anything that you want from her regarding the election issues. And then that's it. So I'll let Ms. Doja introduce herself.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here to discuss elections. I am the elections director for Clayton County Board of Elections. I have been working in Clayton County Board of Elections for the last 4 years. However, I've been working in elections probably since I was about 18, 19 years old. I started out as a student poll worker. And I also just wanted to point out, because this is Upward Bound, I did used to work for Upward Bound. I served as a teaching assistant and also a residential assistant. So I enjoy talking to your Upward Bound students. So it's nice to meet you all, and I look forward to having a good discussion with you all. Oh, and it was with the CAU trio.
Okay, so
Good stuff. We still do some work with them. We actually did an event with them last summer. Did the Upward Bound Olympics with them, and we went over and took a trophy. So they were really trying to get it back this summer, and then COVID happened, so they couldn't.
Oh.
So we still hold a trophy. It's at the office. If I put any of this conversation on our Instagram page, I'll make sure to save this clip so the CAU team can see me still talking about us having a trophy.
Okay, so the first question is, why are so many people encouraged to not vote?
Well, so in that question, I think that it's really important that we as voters empower ourselves to learn about the voter registration process, to learn about how to register to vote, and really study the issues and the candidates for ourselves, because that way we're not influenced by someone sharing something on social media and accepting it as factual. So it's very, very important that we just empower ourselves by conducting our own research, learning, checking the appropriate websites, like going to a county elections website, or perhaps going to the Secretary of State's website where the factual information is available to us, instead of relying on word of mouth, social media, to kind of curb our appetite and tell us how we should vote, or the issues surrounding voter registration, so you get the factual information. And that way you're getting the right information from the right resources. And I think that would help influence and empower you to make your selections and determine which candidate better represents you.
How will mail-in voting work? What are the issues concerning this type of voting?
So mail-in voting, in a nutshell, is a great way to have contactless service with a county elections office. You can receive a ballot by mail. You can vote in the comfort of your home and return your ballot in many different ways. So the process is you submit a request to a county elections office, whether it's an application or a handwritten request sent via email or through the mail, or bringing it into our office. and just letting us know that you would like to receive a ballot for a particular election, and sign your request, put your address in which you want us to mail the ballot, and then we'll mail a ballot to you, and you can vote in the convenience of your home. In addition to that, we do have multiple ways in which you can return your ballot. You can return your ballot via mail for about 50 cents per ballot, as well as you can bring it into the office, or we do have drop boxes that are going to be convenient for our voters to simply drop them off in a box and we'll pick them up. In regards to issues around it, it's very convenient for the voter. It's a great way to have contactless service, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. And so I think it's a great way or a great option to vote versus coming into the office, coming to an advanced voting location, or going to vote on election day to avoid the long lines that we're gonna see on election day.
Yeah, that's a really good alternative. So how will COVID-19 affect the elections this year?
Well, so we're kind of all experiencing this, and this is all new territory for us. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we put every effort that we possibly can into making sure that voters feel comfortable, whether they decide to come and vote in person during advanced voting, or on election day, or give the extra options such as absentee by mail and providing the contactless service via drop boxes. And so because this is new territory, we don't necessarily know what to expect, but we're hoping that as an elections office, we're doing everything that we can to just make sure that voters have several different options in order to cast their ballots. And if a voter does decide to come in to vote, we do provide PPE for our staff. So they're behind PPE barriers. We wear face masks and face shields. We have the hand sanitizer. We clean the units on a regular basis throughout the day. And so we're trying to do everything that we can to make sure that the voters are protected if they decide to come and vote in person. And then if they decide they don't want to come in person, we try to make it convenient for the voter by providing some type of contactless service, such as absentee by mail drop boxes. So we're hoping to see that there's no change, and this will encourage voters to continue to come out to vote.
How will issues such as decreased youth voter turnout, voter purges, and the disproportionate holding of minority low-income communities affect the election?
Well, so let's talk about youth voter turnout. With youth, and I think ultimately the youth have to empower themselves to vote. And you do that, as we discussed already, is studying the issues, knowing what candidates you're interested in casting a ballot for, and making sure that you conduct that research on those candidates, and just making sure that you take the time out to conduct research on those websites that are providing factual information. So I'm not sure if there is a decreased youth voter turnout. The numbers that I've been seeing have not shown that there's a decrease in youth voter turnout. It's actually showing that the youth are more interested than ever to turn out to cast ballots. And so we're very excited about that.
What election laws, if any, have changed this year to accommodate people such as voting dates and voting in person?
Yeah, so in 2019, the Georgia Senate and House of Representatives did pass an election bill, which is something that I encourage you all to read, which is it's called House Bill 316, also called Act 24. And this is a bill that changed the way we do elections. And one of the most important portions of this bill, I'll highlight two actual things. One, it changed how we vote in Georgia, and that's with the new voting system that we implemented this year. And also, one of the other things that changed in House Bill 316, and it directly relates to you all, and that's the age in which you can register to vote and then cast the ballot. So prior to 2020, you had to be 18 on or before election day in order to cast a ballot. So that meant for anyone that was not 18 on or before election day, you could not participate. If you were 17 and a half, you could not participate during actual early voting. So you would have to wait until election day in order to vote, or when you turn 18. But now with House Bill 316, that changed that. So if you are 17 and a half prior to election day and you're going to turn 18 before or on election day, you can now request an absentee ballot by mail prior to election day, or you can participate in voting early. So that gives voters that are 17 and a half and that will be 18 on or before election day an opportunity to exercise their right to vote, doing early voting, or request an absentee ballot prior to election day. So those are two things in that that legislation that directly impacts you all. And so I strongly encourage that as a part of your homework to research that bill to see how elections are impacted by legislators and the items that they put into legislation for us to implement. And so our office is driven by policies that are created by state legislators, state election board, as well as Board of Elections and voter registration. And then another portion that we're governed by, or organization that we're governed by, is the State Election Board. And the State Election Board during the pandemic actually met to design policies for us to implement, such as the official absentee drop box. That is something that was recently implemented for the June primary elections. And so that allowed us to be able to place these drop boxes so that our voters can have contactless service with our office to drop off their absentee ballots for convenient reasons.
Can you please explain the Electoral College and how my vote plays a role in it? Why is my vote important?
Absolutely, and I'm gonna do my best in regards to the process for the Electoral College. So primarily, candidates are generally elected by popular vote. However, for president and vice president, the candidates are chosen by or through the Electoral College. This was a compromise. The Electoral College was basically a compromise between the popular vote by citizens and a vote in Congress. Each state gets as many electors as it has members in Congress, in the House, and the Senate. So there are 538 members in Congress, which is equivalent to 538 Electoral College votes. Now, Georgia has 16. So that means that in Georgia has 16 Electoral College votes. Each state's political party is given the option to choose their own electors to cast a ballot on behalf of their state. So in Georgia is those 16, and those persons that have been elected to cast those ballots, they pretty much take a pledge to vote for a specific candidate. And in order to be elected, a candidate must receive, out of those 538 Electoral College votes, they have to receive 270. And most states kind of follow the portion of if the candidate received the popular vote, then the state gives those electoral college votes to that candidate. However, in Nebraska and Maine, the votes are proportionate to how the voters vote. The state that has the most electoral college votes is Texas. And then the lowest, there are several states that have 3. Texas has 38. And there are several states such as Alaska and Delaware that have 3. And with the 23rd Amendment, it changed for the District of Columbia to have 3 electoral college votes. And that was something that was recent. I strongly encourage you all, because I kind of just gave a brief summary of the electoral college, but I strongly encourage you all to look at the 12th Amendment, which discusses the electoral college, also the 23rd Amendment and how that impacts the District of Columbia, as well as study the Constitutional Convention of 1787, because that was when the electoral college was created. And we had another question about the importance. Well, it's important, your vote is important because your vote determines what candidate gets those electoral college votes. So it's definitely important to cast your ballot for your presidential candidate that you select.
Many people are worried about the chance of bot voters or voter corrosion. What are you doing to stop this from happening?
So my responsibility as the elections director for Clayton County Board of Elections is to ensure that eligible voters can register to vote and they can cast their ballots in order to vote. Now, if someone reports to our office that there's a situation that needs to be addressed, we submit that information to the Secretary of State's office and the State Election Board for them to conduct an investigation. And at the end of the investigation, the State Election Board will decide what they will do regarding whether if there has been identified as some type of issue, then they'll determine based off of what the investigator reports to them, how they will handle that respective situation. So basically my role in that will be reporting it to the State Election Board.
Because many of the people on this call are young and they can't really vote right now, but even if they can't vote, what can they do?
Well, you can do several things. One is encouraging to do, if you are 16, at least 16 years old, you can serve as a poll worker and work on a, and it is paid. And that also allows you to get experience about and see the first election process firsthand. You also can serve as a page for your state representatives during session that starts in January and runs March, April, depending on how long the session is. You can also write letters to your state representative. I strongly encourage you to, talk with your parents, learn who your representatives are, identify who they are. And when you have issues that come about in your community, I encourage you to contact them, whether it's via email, via letters, phone calls, because they do listen, they do respond back, and they want, one of the reasons why they represent your community is because this is a desire of them to represent your community. And so that's how you have a voice when you're not able to vote. So I encourage you all to reach out to your elected officials and talk with them, get to know them, serve as a page for a day, serve as an intern, volunteer, to help us with voter registration drives, all these things that you all can do, even though you're not a registered voter yet, to get involved in the process.
That was all the questions. And now this is the Q&A session. The chat
That was really windy.
Yeah.
Vivian, I think you might have had like you were too close to the window. But I think you were saying that was all the prepared questions.
Yeah, that was all of the prepared questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So
I have a question.
So we do have a couple of questions that came in. I'm gonna just scroll back up to the chat because Ms. Wynn actually asked if you can't request a mail-in ballot online, how could you still get one?
Okay. So if you can't request an absentee ballot online, you can call our office. We will send you an application for you to complete, or you can simply email us a request saying, my name is first name, last name. I live at this address. I would like to receive an absentee ballot by mail for the November 3rd general election, and sign it. And then we'll use that as your request and send you an actual ballot. If it's a primary election, of course, you have to designate a party preference. But for the November general election, you don't have to designate a party preference. And so we'll take your request and mail you a ballot based off of your request. And we still receive faxes. So you can fax it, you can email it to us, and you can mail it to us via first class mail also. So there are different options. Now, the Secretary of State office did recently launch an absentee ballot online portal. That's a great tool to use in order to make your request. It gets to us a lot faster than one by mail, but we receive absentee ballot requests in all different fashions. And then while I'm thinking about it, I also wanted to plug the Georgia My Voter page. And the Georgia My Voter page allows voters to see their sample ballots, where they go to vote. They can also check their absentee statuses as well. And your district information, which shows you who represents you. So that's a good tool to use at any given time. You have 24-hour access to this website, and it gives you a lot of great information for each upcoming election. So right now they do have information for the November general, and we in Clayton County, Fulton, and DeKalb County, we have a special election going on right now. And so the information for the September special election, that is to fill the vacancy of Congressional John Lewis, that one is going on right now for us. And then we'll have, in addition to that, the November general information with the sample ballot. So I do encourage you all to go on there. Also, if you are a registered voter, your parents are registered voters, show them the My Voter page tool to help them learn about what they're voting for, and to study the ballot prior to going into the polls and reviewing your sample ballot.
Okay.
Another question in the chat is, how do you know who is on the ballot before you go out and vote?
Fantastic. So each county is required by law to provide a sample ballot to have access to a sample ballot for the voters. And so there are two different ways in which you can, there's more than two different ways where you can request your sample, request a sample ballot or review the sample ballot. We always have a sample ballot on our local county elections websites. And I'll plug that tool, the My Voter page, again, because that's a great resource that you can use for a customized sample ballot that's specific to your actual election. And it shows you your races that you can vote on. The sample ballot that we have on our website is what's called a composite sample ballot. And that's everything that a possible voter in Clayton County can vote upon. So if you go on our website, you'll see everything that a voter could possibly vote on. But if you go on the My Voter page, you'll get your customized sample ballot on everything that you will be able and eligible to vote on election day or absentee by mail.
How old can I be to become a pager?
So I believe it's 16, but I'm not completely sure. I've seen some pages as early or age as early as maybe 11 and 12. But let me just follow up on that and see what I can find out to just make sure that I give you the correct information. But to serve as a poll worker, you have to be at least 16 years old and get your parents' permission, as well as your principal in your school, and just making sure that you have proper transportation to and from your polls. So I will get back with you on that exact age to serve as a page and just follow up if that's okay.
Hi, hello. I have a question. Okay, this is more related to like state elections. You know, I'm not sure which one is happening now, but it's like, where can I get more information about what's happening in our state? Because, you know, I feel like when you ride around or stuff, you see signs with names, but is there an area like where I can get information about them?
Do you mean the candidates?
Yes, because I see
you're
signs all the time, and it's like, support this person or support this person, but that's usually it. I feel like news, I'm not sure if there's like a channel specifically for our state, but I feel like news is always on like broader scale.
Absolutely. So the best way to research a candidate, the majority of candidates have their own specific website. So I would just encourage using a search engine and typing in the person's name as a candidate. Once you identify the candidates, you can go on our website to identify who the candidates are. You can also use the My Voter page to identify who represents you, so you'll know what districts you reside in. And then you can use a search engine tool to look the candidates up and find their web pages. So because our office is a nonpartisan office, we don't advertise any candidates' websites. But what we will do is provide you the elected officials, and you can look them up, look at their candidate websites, and conduct research. They'll pretty much tell you on their websites, you know, what issues they're pushing, what they're encouraging, and what they plan to represent on your behalf. So I strongly encourage you to go on their websites. Once you see a name that you're interested in, whether it's a sign or a poster board or a bulletin or a flyer, just use a search engine tool, research them, and find their websites to look up what issues they represent.
I see that one of our students asked, and I know another staff person has a question too, but one of our students also asked, are postage stamps required for mail-in ballots?
Yes. So if you do plan to mail your ballot, postage is required. It's roughly 50 cents to mail that ballot.
Okay, and so they just wanted to know, is there any way to avoid the cost associated, since voting should be free for citizens?
Well, the way to avoid paying the postage is using one of our official absentee drop boxes.
Okay.
I have a question about like how to get more people to start voting. So I can't vote, but I want to like get the word out that it's important to vote. So like, how would you like go about that? Like, is there any advice for that?
Absolutely, Kaylin. So the best thing to do, I mean, if you have a platform such as your social media, you can share. You can go to your respective local county elections offices, share their web pages. If they have social media, share their social media posts. Um, Share the My Voter page for people to get empowered, to educate themselves. And so those are great ways to make sure that when you're sharing information, you're providing them resources that are nonpartisan and there are actual factual websites that will provide that the correct information. If you do have type of social media platform and you see where someone provides some type of political information, I encourage you to fact check it before you share it, um, to make sure that you're sharing correct information. So one of the things that we receive a lot of phone calls about in our office, because there are people that want and have the desire to help and encourage people to vote, but sometimes the information that they're providing is not the correct information. And so it's best to utilize a local county elections website or a social media website from a county elections, local county elections office, or the Secretary of State's information directly from those web pages to share with your friends and families, and that way you know that you're giving information that is coming directly from the official source versus something that you saw that looked appealing on social media. So I would definitely encourage you to go to the official sources to share information. And also, as a student, as a youth, we do provide training for third-party organizations. We teach people how to conduct voter registration drives, how to go out and fill out the applications, help people get registered. And so we definitely encourage you to attend our training classes so you'll learn about the election laws, what you can and what you can't do, and how to complete the applications, and locations you can go to. So those are other options that can be utilized as well. So good luck.
Thank you. I also have another question. I'm sorry. So if I can't, like you said with the classes, if I can't attend those, how can I register to vote? Like, can I register to vote online, or does it have to be at a certain place?
Yes, so you can register to vote online if you have a state issue ID or a driver's license. Through the My Voter page, you can register online. And the My Voter page is a great resource tool that can be used because you can register to vote on there. You can check your status. You can look at sample ballots. You can get information about your voter information, update it, and have 24-hour access. And so, yes, I would encourage you to utilize that My Voter page tool. Also, the state has an app that is that can be used, which is basically the My Voter page that you can download and utilize in the same way you can use it on a PC or a laptop. And currently we conduct our meetings via Zoom. And if you, I'm not sure if you can see her on your screen, but I do have my election supervisor here, Ms. Travis Houston. She's waving right now. If you all see her, she is the one that conducts our deputy registrar training. And we do conduct deputy registrar training for the youth. If you speak with Miss Janae Morris with the Office of Youth Services, we have every year we conduct deputy registrar training for the youth commissioners. And so I definitely encourage you to do that. I think it will be a great source of information for you and give you an opportunity to ask even more questions about what you can do and the updates on voter registration and election laws.
Have there been any instances of a candidate cheating or bending the rules in some sort of way to win an election?
Has there been any instances where, could you repeat your question again?
Has there been any instances of a candidate either cheating or bending the rules some sort of way to win an election?
Well, candidates are not the ones that actually count votes. Is myself and my office. We are the ones that conduct tabulation. And so candidates are not involved. Candidates cannot serve as poll workers, nor can their family members serve as poll workers. I do encourage you, if you're interested in particular violations regarding elections, I do encourage you to visit the state elections board, because that is the group that governs elections and review any type of cases that have been investigated in regards to elections and voter registration for candidates and local county elections offices.
I have a question. So I'm aware that you cannot vote twice. So I'm aware of this. So let me just ask this question. With the, I guess because I'm not really comfortable or sure what with the process at this point. Meaning, I'm contemplating on doing an absentee ballot or early voting. My question is, can you send in an absentee ballot and then decide later, like if I want to show up and vote in person, or deliver it, to mail it off before the date? Because I'm not.
Yolanda, I'm sorry. I'm so distracted by that North Carolina A&T flag you have in the background. I graduated from North Carolina Central University.
Really?
Eagle Pride.
I went to
I'm a little bit distracted.
They're all behind. So I actually graduated from Clark University.
Okay. No, to answer your question, if you do request an absentee ballot by mail and then you decide to go and vote in person, you can still do that. However, there's a different process in which you'll have to undergo. And it'll take a little bit longer in order for you to cast your ballot in person. So the first thing, either you have to bring in that ballot that was mailed to you and surrender that ballot when you go to vote. If you do not have that ballot to surrender, say it was lost or spoiled, or you threw it away, for example, you'll have to complete what's called an affidavit. With that affidavit, you'll have to basically say, I, Yolanda Ward, did not receive my ballot, I spoiled it, or I lost it, and I'm saying that I have not cast a ballot in this election. Once you complete that, the poll worker will then contact our office directly, the elections office, to make sure that that ballot has not been returned back to our office. Because once you submit your ballot back to the office via absentee by mail, it is deemed as cast. So if we have that ballot in the office, then we cannot allow you to cast an additional ballot, because that, once we receive it in our office, it has been deemed as cast. And so we have to go through several checks to ensure that a ballot has not been cast for you. And once we have identified that we have not received the ballot back from you in the office, then we'll give the okay for you to cast a ballot in person.
Okay, so I have not mailed it off because I was like, I think I'm gonna have to just do early voting because I'm just not sure, just not sure what's going on. So I'll do that. And I heard you tell a student, because initially I did an absentee ballot for an election in May. And then I went in person and voted again, the last election. So, and I heard you say that, and I put a stamp on it and I mailed it. But I actually, when I heard on the news, like, oh, you didn't have to put a stamp, I was like, man, I wasted a stamp. But I'm glad to hear I had to actually go to the actual ballot, the actual mailbox for absentee ballots too, so that I wouldn't have to actually put a stamp on it. So
that is correct.
Okay. So I'll just show up in person. I'll just do early voting. I'll do that just to be on the safe side. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
how did
Well,
you
if we
become
don't have
interested in this field?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Oh, okay. So my question was, how did you become interested in this field?
How did I become interested in this field? Well, while I was at North Carolina Central University, I decided to serve as a poll worker. My degree is in political science, and I started getting involved in the 2000 presidential elections. And I started serving as a poll worker, basically as a political scientist, as well as, I was a college student, so I wanted to find some different ways to get money. And so that was a way for me to pay my cell phone. And so it gets in your blood, basically. And once I started serving as a poll worker, I became more and more interested in the process. And then when I moved to Georgia, one of the first things I did was seek out internships. And I sought out an internship with the Secretary of State's office as the elections intern. I became more and more involved in the elections process, learning the background of the elections process. And it actually turned into my first full-time job, working for the Secretary of State in the elections office, which then led to me venturing out. I conducted voter education on behalf of the Secretary of State for 72 counties in Georgia, and which allowed me to conduct student government elections at Fort Valley and Morehouse, and do speaking engagements and conduct voter registration drives on behalf of the Secretary of State's office, and teaching voters how to use the new voting system at that time. And that led for me to have other opportunities where I worked in the Rockdale County Board of Elections and voter registration, where at that time they had roughly 45,000 registered voters. And then I stayed there for 3 or 4 years, which was my first experience working in a presidential election. And then I went to Fulton County Elections Office, which now has about 800,000 registered voters. And I spent 5 to 6 years there working, which led me to the Clayton County Board of Elections office to serve as a director. So that's why I strongly encourage you all to, serve as poll workers. I did it to serve as an intern, because serving as an intern, serving as a page, they help you determine what you like. If you like working in local government, if you like working as a and being involved in the legislative process, gaining those internship experiences help you shape what kind of career path you want to have. Because I will be honest, it was not, I didn't wake up as a child and say, I want to work in elections. I wasn't even aware of the elections. It was actual career path. But as I started to serve and intern, I started learning about this part of the process, and wanted to make sure that I did something that was impactful to the community. My mother, she graduated from high school in 1965, which was around the time that the Voting Rights Act was passed. And so my mom encouraged me about the importance of voting by allowing me to go into the ballot box with her. And so it's those things those experiences that kind of help shape, what you want to do with your life. My grandma, she was never able to cast a ballot. And those conversations were being had in the family. And so when I started thinking about going to college, what kind of impact I wanted to make in my life, those conversations started happening. And as I started to intern and started getting involved, I started to see that this is one way that I can ensure that I make sure that eligible voters have the right to vote, and I can do everything that I can in my power to ensure that those voters can vote. So if I can give you any type of encouragement, I do encourage you all to intern, talk to Mr. Stallings, talk to Ms. Morris, you know, talk to people about their experiences and how they became what they became and what was their motivation behind, you know, their career paths. And also think about what you can do to impact your community and make a career path out of it. And so if I'm giving my Sunday speech, um, that is something I definitely encourage you to do, and make sure that you explore several different options before you decide on a career path, so that you know that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life, or this is how you want to make your mark and your legacy um, in the world.
What should I pay attention to while choosing who to vote for?
I would say that choose a candidate that represents your beliefs, supports issues that are important to you. So initially, I would say identify what's important to you. If it's pollution, if it's cleaning up rivers, if it's global warming, if whatever issues that you are strongly in support of, identify with a candidate that will be your voice. So that's where I would start. Figure out what it is that you want in life and what you want your future to look like. And if there's a candidate that supports your ideas, then that's the candidate that you should make your selections.
Chanel asks, if you want to be a worker at a ballot, is it accepted right away, or do you need a resume like an actual job?
In order to serve as a poll worker, we do have an application on our website that you can complete. And we do have a student poll worker application that's specifically for students, and that we will make sure that we get that application to you all so you can complete it and send it back over to us. One of the great things about the November general elections is school is out, and so it provides you all an opportunity to be able to serve on election day as a poll official. So I'll get the application over to you also.
How will we get that application from you? Like email?
Yes, we can email it.
Yeah, if Ms. Dozier sends it to either Vivian or myself, then we'll make sure we send it out to the rest of you.
Yeah. So do you have to apply to get an internship?
Yes, so for interns, to get an internship, there is an application process. There is an interview process in which you will need to undergo in order to serve as an intern.
Miss Ward asks, how can we verify if our vote in the past was cast? I know we are supposed to go to the Georgia Secretary of State website, but where specifically on that website?
Absolutely. So on the My Voter page, when you go on the My Voter page, you'll type your first initial, last name, the county in which you reside, and your date of birth. Once you go into the My Voter page and it pulls up your voter information, on the bottom left corner, it tells you your voter status, as well as if you request an absentee by mail, it'll tell you the status that the application has been received, processed, and then when the ballot has been returned. And
Okay.
if you can also contact our office, and we can also tell you, provide you the history of your voter history as well.
Okay. I feel like y'all are too busy for that. So I can go online, and it's on the actual Georgia Secretary of State's website, and go on my voter page, and then just go to the bottom left corner.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to make sure my ballot was cast. I meant to follow up on that. One of our colleagues told us that worked here. She was a poll worker, and she went to cast her ballot. She went to actually vote in person, and someone had already voted. And so she actually was on the news, and it was like, hey, warning everyone to make sure they check before, just to make sure no one is voted in their place. So I was like, I want to be able to do that. So, okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
So as an intern, what do interns do?
Well, as an intern, it depends on the position. It depends on where you're actually serving. And it also depends on your ambition. Because some people, they hire interns and they become copy people. But I feel like an internship is what you make it. An internship is driven by the actual intern. When I've had internships and when I've had interns in other jobs, I sit down with the intern and I basically ask them, what are your goals? What is that you want to learn? And what can this do to be beneficial toward your career track? And so if you're not having that conversation with the person that you are working for, I definitely encourage you to have that conversation with them so that you can drive your own internship experience.
How important is networking in your field of work?
It's definitely very important. In elections, we are a very small group. There are 159 counties, so there are 159 election offices. We share and exchange great ideas on how to improve upon our processes. We exchange procedures, and so it's very important that you network with other county election officials so that you can find ways to improve upon your processes and see how other counties are working election processes and voter registration, exchanging ideas, and how you can improve upon it, take those ideas back and improve upon your processes in your county. So it is extremely important to network in this profession, and it's extremely important to network in any profession because it does help you build upon and help you learn and gain experience through other people's experiences and how you can utilize those tools and skill sets in with yourself or in your job.
In the chat, and they just put for the assistant, she says on the website you can be a clerk if you're 16 years of age and older, an assistant manager, and you must be a high school graduate or equivalent.
Yes, so the positions that are on our website are temporary seasonal positions that serve during advanced voting and serve to work as absentee clerks. They are seasonal temporary positions, but those seasonal temporary positions require full-time hours. In elections, we work a lot of hours. We work on election day, we're in the office at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're there until. That until may be midnight, it may be the next day. We work 7 days a week. It's all driven by the volume of our workload and our voters. And so during those times, yes, we definitely work a lot of hours. For example, during the shelter in place that Governor Kemp implemented during COVID-19, most offices shut down. However, elections was deemed as an essential office, and so we were required by law to still open because we were conducting elections. And so those are things that you think about when you're working in elections. We were still conducting early voting. We were still mailing out absentees. We were still going through the elections process. Typically, an election for us starts 180 days prior to the elections, which is 6 months. So we're either planning elections or implementing an election, and sometimes we're planning and implementing elections at the same time. So it requires a lot of time and a lot of overtime hours. So we're definitely not an 8 to 5 job. We are more of a until the work gets done, until the last voter votes, until that last vote is tabulated type of office.
Okay, it's about time to wrap up because it's almost 4:30. Thank you, Miss Dozier. Sorry for saying your name wrong. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak to us about.
Where does your wait, Vivian? Where does your wind keep coming from? Like,
Sorry.
okay, there we go.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak to us about the elections. We're really grateful about it. And do you have any closing statements you want to add?
Yes, I mean, thank you all. This has been a great discussion. I always enjoy speaking with the youth and students. Anything I can do to help, by all means, please reach out. We're definitely looking for student poll workers. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Never feel like you don't have anyone that cannot answer a question about elections. I will do my best to either provide information to you or direct you to where you can get the information. So, and I just want to just continue to just stress and encourage you all as you go through Upward Bound, utilize this time to gain experience, utilize this time to talk with your residents, network amongst each other. Upward Bound is a great opportunity for you to build upon your friends, your networks. So when you go off to college, you can have friends at other schools and, talk to each other about careers, and, just utilize each other as resources and enjoy being students, enjoy being in this process. I think that you all are coming into age at a major transitional time in this world, and I completely respect what you all are having to endure by virtual learning and finding creative ways to do things better and different in the world. And this is a very revolutionary time for you all. And so we look to you all to, solve the world's problems. So, I encourage you all to, whatever you want to do in life, to start seeking a path on how you can do that, because you are the change agents of the future.
Thank you so much for your time.
Possibly contact you, like an email or?
Absolutely. So I can put my email address in the chat.
Yeah,
and we'll put my phone number.
You're gonna see a lot of thank yous, and so those are for you. Absolutely, you'll see those in the chat when you jump in.
So I just put my email address and phone number in the chat.
Ms. Dozier and Ms. Houston, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to the students. This is really informative. This is really great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just wanted to say that for me. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Somebody talking?
I couldn't tell. Are they talking?
Is somebody talking?
Are they asking a question or?
I can't tell.
I can't either.
I can't hear.
I think it was an accident. Okay. All right. Well, without any further ado, again, thank you so much to Ms. Dozier and to all of our other guests. I'll ask, do any of our other guests want to give any closing, any final thoughts, last statements?
Miss Houston.
Miss Houston. Miss Houston, Miss Horn. I think I saw another name.
I don't see.
Well, if I may, I'm sorry, I'm Nicole Horn. I'm the administrator for the Office of Youth Services, and I was late. But thank you all for hosting this forum for the youth. Vivian, thank you so much for putting it together. She's a great youth commissioner, and we're glad, definitely glad to have you. And Ms. Dozier, as always, thank you for helping us out and pouring into the youth the importance of voting and getting out there so we can hear your voice. So thank you to you and your team. And I don't know where Janae is, but Janae, thank you as always for keeping the youth on track and keeping us all connected. So I just wanted to say thank you and good job to everybody. And you all get out there and make sure you register to vote and be poll workers. And if you live in Clayton County and you want to be a youth commissioner, we'll welcome you to do that too. We take applications in March.
Hi, I'm Travis Houston, and I just want to let you all know if y'all interested in doing deputy register training, I'm gonna also add my email address in the chat. Y'all contact me and we can get one set up.
All right, thank you both for that. Okay, so now, I just want to make sure. I want to give Ms. Garrett a chance. Ms. Garrett, you got anything? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I see you still in here, so I just throw it out there. Okay, all right, we're good. Somebody just asked Ms. Houston, what type of training is that you just spoke about? I think somebody was confused as to what training you were saying.
That's deputy register training. That's when we deputize the kids or adults to go out and have voter registration drives.
Thank you so much. All right, so if nobody else has anything to add, I'll say, thank you guys again for excellent event today. Thank you for giving us so much wonderful information and kind of putting our kids on the right track to understand, how important all of this process is and how important it will be for the rest of their lives, really. And so I just wanted to make sure I thank you all. If nobody has anything else, we'll be sending out some stuff soon. Students, I'll be sending out a survey for you guys to fill out, just so we can have some information about, some survey stuff so we can make sure we know who came and who attended and answer some questions. But we look forward to seeing all of our students soon, and we look forward to talking to you guys in the future too. Hopefully we'll be able to send some students your way to do some work with you guys in the future.
Yay. Yes, absolutely.
Contact information, Mr. Stallings, in the chat, because we'd like to invite you to be a part of our partners group if possible.
Absolutely.
One more question. What happens if someone who doesn't speak English but they're American citizens, like, can they bring a translator, or how does that work for people who aren't fluent in English?
Absolutely. Yes, you can bring someone to assist you in the voting process, and it is as simple as when you come in to vote, you'll sign on the application that you're there to assist the person to vote.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. All right, so students, we will see you all soon. Good seeing some of y'all faces and seeing some of y'all names for those of y'all that couldn't cut y'all cameras on today. We'll see y'all soon though.
Bye. Thank you guys so
Thank you.
much.
Bye.
Information.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.